paints, PPR and PVC pipes, electric pipes, building grills, BRC and square till in various sizes. Need interior and finishing materials? We've got you covered with gypsum, gypsum rails, marine boards, ceiling boards and tanks of all sizes. For fencing, we stock barbed wire, chain link and wire mesh. And the best part, we offer free countrywide delivery with our fleet of transit trucks and pickups. Your order arrives on time, every time. Visit us in Kitengela along Namanga Highway, opposite 411 stage, or at our branches in Kitisuru and Busia. For enquiries, call us on 020-2688-888 or 0733-666632 or 0721-923248. Competitive Hardware Limited.
You're watching CBS News.
A very good morning to you, our viewers, wherever you are tuned in. Welcome to CBS News. This is the newspaper review Monday morning. I trust you are well. You've had a good weekend. I have also had a fantastic weekend. Join me here at Nairobi's Kenya's capital, whereby we are about to bring you the newspaper review on the news making headlines in our newspapers and the news that have been happening over the weekend. Stay tuned. My name is Dennis Munyi. Remember, you can keep the conversation going at our social media platforms in YouTube. This is CBS News Kenya, and at Facebook you can follow us and engage us at CBS News Kenya, and also in TikTok at CBS News Kenya, and in my own social handles at Dennis Munyi. Welcome to CBS Newspaper Review Monday morning. My name is Dennis Munyi. With me here is the paper of the Daily Nation with a bold headline, Lagat off the hook. The Daily Nation with a bold headline, Lagat off the hook. And when you grab your copy of the Daily Nation, you see a very bold picture of Deputy Inspector General Eliud Lagat, who is now being said now that he is expected to resume office after investigations were cleared and he was found not guilty over the death of the teacher and blogger Albert Ojwang, who died a few days ago in police custody at Central Police Station. And now the Daily Nation is reporting that Eliud Lagat, the Deputy Inspector General, has now been cleared and is expected to resume work today. That's the story that has been given headline in the Daily Nation. And at the far end of the Daily Nation, it's about how Rialta banks and staff have covered up to rock 1.5 billion equity heist probe. We'll be looking at that story about the 1.5 billion equity heist probe that happened and how bank staffs coordinated in a well-orchestrated move to rob Equity Bank 1.5 billion Kenyan shillings. We'll also see a story at the far end, at the left-hand part of the Daily Nation, whereby it's a story about Raila and Gachagua, who are the unlikely kingmakers, and they could not even have, they might not even participate in the 2027 general election. That story, we will find it in the Daily Nation, and we go straight to the page 1 of the Daily Nation, whereby we see the story that was given headline of the Deputy Inspector General of Police, Bwana Eliud Lagat. And now details are emerging that the Deputy Inspector General Eliud Lagat, who was summoned by a team of senior police officers at his office, that now Eliud Lagat might now report to work today. And the Daily Nation is talking about how Lagat has been intense public scrutiny. You remember the Deputy Inspector General of Police by the name Eliud Lagat stepped down from his position after a public outcry concerning the death of the blogger and teacher Albert Ojwang, whereby this blogger was arrested in Homa Bay and taken to Central Police Station. And a few hours later, he was pronounced dead, and we had the police issuing a statement saying that the late blogger blogger and teacher Albert Ojwang hit his head at the Central Police Station, and therefore after a public outcry, the Deputy Inspector General, who was being said to have participated in the death of the blogger Albert Ojwang, had to step down for the investigations to be conducted by the IPOA. But now details are emerging that Mr. Lagat has been directed by his superior to resume office and operations at Central Police Station. And you remember in his final address to the police commander, Mr. Lagat had urged them to remain steadfast and uphold the law while he stepped aside due to public pressure. And having vacated office over 18 days ago to allow investigations by the Independent Policing Oversight Authority, commonly known as IPOA, Mr. Lagat is now expected to resume duty today, according to details being revealed by the Daily Nation. And last evening, the Inspector General, Bwana Douglas Kanja, had confirmed to the Daily Nation newspaper that Mr. Lagat will return to work today. And quoting him as he has been quoted, quoting what the Inspector General Douglas Kanja talked with the Daily Nation, the Inspector General was talking about, these are his words. He was saying, I hope to see him back at the office today because he has been cleared by all the investigations. And now he is as white as snow. And the Deputy Inspector General, Bwana Lagat, will now resume office. Now questions remain. Where is the investigations? Where have we reached concerning the investigations of blogger Albert Ojwang, the one who was died? Has justice been served? The family has been waiting to get justice, and now the prime suspect, one of those people who was a suspect in this murder case, has now been cleared and is expected to resume office. And according to the Daily Nation, an official familiar with the IPOA investigations, he revealed to the nation, the Daily Nation, that linking Mr. Lagat directly to the murder of Ojwang, who was arrested and later killed inside the Nairobi Central Police Station following an alleged assault by a police officer. This insider from the IPOA was linking this probe with the Deputy Inspector General, Bwana Lagat. However, the Daily Nation reports that IPOA declined to comment on publicly, citing the case as an active case. When the Daily Nation tried to reach out to the IPOA, they declined to comment on this case, citing it as an active case before the courts. You remember the Director of Public Prosecution, Renson Igonga, had separately promised to give the Daily Nation an update of the matter, but was yet to do so by the time the Daily Nation was issuing this. Ojwang's death, Mr. Lagat, who had been named as a complainant in the case that had been filed against the teacher and blogger Albert Ojwang, had assumed to have instructed officers at the station to assault him. There are claims from one of the complaints that the Deputy Inspector General was the one who issued instructions up to the police officers to assault the late blogger Albert Ojwang. And there was a mounting pressure from the public who are saying that the Deputy Inspector General Eliud Lagat should resign. And that's when we saw him issuing a statement. And in his words, he said that in good conscience and in recognition of my role and responsibility as the Deputy Inspector General of the Kenya Police Service, and in view of the ongoing investigation into the unfortunate incident of the death of Albert Ojwang, I have opted to step aside pending the completion of the investigations. I undertake to provide any support that may be required of me during the investigation of the unfortunate incident. Those were the words of the Deputy Inspector General, saying that he has made this decision in the good faith, that he do not want to interfere with the investigations. But what happens? A few days later, we see the Deputy Inspector General resuming office when the investigations are not yet complete. And this decision has come just a few hours after Interior Kipchumba Murkomen publicly downplayed the likelihood of of Mr. Lagat stepping aside. You remember a few hours before the Deputy Inspector General issuing that statement, the CS for Interior, Bwana Kipchumba Murkomen, held a press conference, and I quote what he said, that he, Deputy Inspector General, is a seasoned officer who understands what it takes to conduct investigations. Let's allow IPOA to do its job. Let's allow IPOA to do its job. Those were the words of Interior Cabinet Secretary Bwana Kipchumba Murkomen. At the same time, Mr. Lagat has hired a Nairobi lawyer by the name Cecile Miller to represent him in this petition that was filed at the High Court seeking his removal from office. There was a petition that was presented before the High Court seeking to remove Mr. Lagat from office over his alleged involvement in Mr. Ojwang's death. And according to court's document, Mr. Lagat has instructed this lawyer by the name Mr. Miller to lead his defense in the petition lodged by activist Eliud Karanja Matindi. This is an activist who is residing in London in the United Kingdom, whereby he has filed a case against the Deputy Inspector General, saying that the Deputy Inspector General requires to vacate from office over his involvement over the death of the late and blogger Albert Ojwang. And in his petition, this activist by the name Matindi, he argues that Mr. Lagat's decision to step aside was in fact an act of resignation, and therefore the position of the Deputy Inspector General should be declared vacant. This is an active case that has been launched at the High Court by this activist who resides in London in the United Kingdom by the name Eliud Karanja, who said that Mr. Lagat needs to vacate from office. And in a petition filed at the Milimani Court in Nairobi by this activist, Mr. Lagat, Matindi claims that by stepping aside, Mr. Lagat effectively considered he was unfit to discharge the duties of the office, and he has been citing Article 12 of the National Police Service Act, whereby that it insists that if Mr. Lagat is deemed to have resigned in his own motion, therefore he should vacate from office. And this is an active case that will be following at the High Court and at the Milimani Court to see what happens with this case and with this investigation concerning the death of Albert Ojwang. Albert Ojwang is a blogger who was killed at police custody, and now the Deputy Inspector General Bwana Lagat, who was one of the prime suspects, will now resume office, having been found that he is not guilty and that he was not involved in the murder of the blogger Albert Ojwang. That is a story you will find in page 2 of the Daily Nation. We go and have a look at the page 3 of the Daily Nation. The page 3 talks about Nairobi United. This is a team that was from Estate, and now it is now becoming one of the greatest team to reckon. And in 2018, Nairobi United, we see in that page, in page 3, you'll see a photo of President William Ruto receiving football from Nairobi United Football Club chairman Bwana Samuel Bon Maina at State House in Nairobi on Thursday last week. And also you'll see a photo of Governor Sakaja, the Nairobi Senator, the Nairobi Governor Bwana Sakaja, looking at this team. This is a team linked to Nairobi Governor. In 2018, this is a team that was found in 2018 by a group of former university colleagues in Nairobi, and they started this initiative to play football for fitness. Now this project has turned to be a team that has recently won the National Super League. You remember this team is the one that was crowned the champions of the Nairobi National Super League. It was also the team that was crowned as the FKF Mozart Bet Cup winners, and it had an appointment at State House with President William Ruto on Thursday. And this team is a team that is being seen in the page 3 of the Daily Nation, whereby they have a look at the Nairobi United Football Club that is now set to represent Kenya in the Continental Confederation Cup alongside Kenya Premier League winners, that is the Kenya Police, who are crowned the Kenya Police, the FKF, the Kenya Premier League winners. And they will will now be participating, and they will be representing Kenya in a tournament for the Continental Confederation Cup. And this team, the Nairobi United, having secured its first ever promotion to the Kenya's top tier league and having won major cups such as the Mozart Cup and having overcome other Giants teams such as the Tusker, KCB and Kakamega Boys, and also beating the famous Gor Mahia in the final during that match. It's one of the teams that has risen to the ranks. That's why we've seen the Daily Nation talking about this team, Nairobi United, coming from Estate Kickabout to playing against the Giants in Africa. We wish Nairobi United all the best as they go there to represent Kenya at the Continentals, and we will hope that they are going to make Kenya proud. And at the far end of page 3 of the Daily Nation is about how TSC data is showing a trend of male teachers misconduct. There is a revelation by TSC data showing disturbing trend in which Kenya's education sector, whereby we have seen male teachers making up the overwhelming majority of those deregistered for misconduct. And in this review that has been revealed by the TSC data, it is showing that the number of male teachers that have been deregistered due to misconduct has been at rise, with the latest data from the TSC Commission showing that out of the 470 teachers who are deregistered, who are deregistered for the past 5 years, 90%, that is, I'm talking about out of 470 teachers who are deregistered out of misconduct, out of the 470, 419 of them are male teachers, while the remaining 46 are not classified by gender. That is almost 91%. And these teachers, in this report, it shows that the number of male teachers who have been deregistered from the Teachers Service Commission registry contains 90% of them being male. It's something that is very disturbing to see that teachers who have been given the responsibility of teaching young pupils are now engaging in misconduct. That story you will find in the page 3 at the far end corner of the Daily Nation. We go ahead and look at page 4 and page 5 of the Daily Nation, whereby we see a bold headline by the name "It's Not Game Over for Ruto allies" as they vow to continue with their fight and to champion for the Kenya Kwanza and President William Ruto. Here we see a picture of Professor Kindiki, the Deputy President, addressing residents during a political event in Machakos County yesterday. And now it's emerging that President William Ruto's allies they are insisting that the Kenya Kwanza Alliance has a fighting chance in 2027 general election. And despite public perception of a government that has been in panic and the perception of a government that is out of touch with the ground, the Kenya Kwanza administration and the allies, people allied to the president, leaders allied to the president, have maintained that the Kenya Kwanza has a chance in the 2027 general election. And you have seen in recent days the Ruto administration has come under heavy scrutiny and under heavy criticism, having been found in many things such as excessive use of firearms. They have seen very many extrajudicial killings. We've seen loss of public trust from the public to the government, whereby we've seen people have lost trust with the government. We've seen a lot of extrajudicial killings. We've seen even high taxation to a point whereby the 2024 finance bill had to be dropped down due to the high number of taxation that was rising. We've seen major protests happening over the recent year. We've seen a lot of protests in this administration, and the People's Liberation Party leader Martha Karua has been on record dismissing the government as the worst that has been seen over decades. And in her own words, she was saying that this is a total eclipse. And we've seen also leaders such as the Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro, who on July 10th was on record saying that this government is clueless with no business, calling it a government that is very clueless. And that was according to the Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro. But leaders allied to the president are saying that it's not yet over for President Ruto. They are saying that there is still a chance for the Kenya Kwanza regime. And now the former deputy president, we've seen also the former deputy president who have been joining forces with other like-minded opposition leaders such as the Martha Karua and the former vice president Kalonzo Musyoka. We've seen them joining forces together with the former defense cabinet secretary Eugene Wamalwa. We've seen also the former Attorney General Justin Muturi with the former Interior CS Matiang'i and the Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya. These are people who are eyeing for the top seat, and they have joined forces to make sure that they oust the President William Ruto administration. But now leaders allied to the president are now saying that it's not yet over, and they are saying that the opposition has a lot of work to do. And yesterday when the deputy president Professor Kindiki was touring the coast region on that is on July 5th, the deputy president Kithure Kindiki was saying that if the opposition thinks being in government has dulled our political edge, they are mistaken, and the day is coming when we roll up ourselves and enter the political arena, and the president will win in 2027. This is politics, and leaders allied to the president are saying that the Ruto administration is not, the game is not yet over for the president, and they are saying they are going to put a very hotly contested seat in 2027. We will be on the lookout to see how things unfold. And we move to page 5 of the Daily Nation, whereby it's about Gachagua and Raila, and this story talks about how these two gentlemen, the former deputy president and the former prime minister, who are the unlikely kingmakers. And with the 2027 general election drawing closer, the ODM leader Raila Odinga and the former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua are now emerging as the unlikely kingmakers in this presidential race that will be happening in 2027. And the Daily Nation talks about how the two politicians have had a strong support basis, but now they are saying that they may not even run for the top office due to the circumstances that are beyond their control. We've seen the former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua pulling huge crowds in Mount Kenya region and claiming to be the Mount Kenya king maker, and the former prime minister Raila Odinga, who have been commonly known for huge support of the Nyanza region, but now they might not even vie for the top position because of the positions that are beyond their control. And the Daily Nation is talking about, however, how they could not be on the ballot and their names might not be cleared by the IEBC Commission. This is because the obstacles that have led them to like the instance of the former deputy president Rigathi Gachagua, who was impeached, and he might not be in the general election for the 2027. And according to the Daily Nation, having made his debut in elective politics in 1997 as Eldoret North Member of Parliament, and Dr. Ruta faced his most difficult test, and his fate may lie in the hands of Mr. Odinga. We now take a commercial break, and we will be getting back to continue with the Daily Nation and have a look at other stories that have been given headline. We take a commercial break. Don't tune out. Continue watching CBS News. We will be right back after the commercial break. Stay tuned. My name is Dennis Munyi.
You're watching CBS News.
Welcome to Competitive Training Institute, empowering you with in-demand skills. At Competitive Training Institute, we equip you with practical, job-ready skills that open doors both locally and internationally. Whether you're aiming to become a qualified caregiver, certified plumber, skilled automotive mechanic, or want to learn a foreign language like French, Arabic, or German, and many more, we've got the right course for you. Our hands-on training, guided by experienced instructors and aligned with market demands, ensures you're ready to compete and succeed in today's job market. We don't just train, we help you get hired. Our job placement team supports you in finding meaningful work after graduation. We are proudly accredited by NITA, ensuring high standards in all we offer. Ready to begin? Call us on 020-200-192 or 0721 223081, or email us at competitivetraining@gmail.com. Your journey starts here. Let's build your future together. Almarai Company, in collaboration with Competitive Manpower, is urgently hiring for the following exciting roles: Grade 1 mechanics, panel beaters, refrigeration technicians, lead mechanics, diesel plant mechanics, welders, and stainless steel welders. Why apply? This is a free recruitment with no application or placement fees required. Contact us today on 0721 506627 or 0733 392180. You can also visit us at Waterseas Plaza, Kikorok Road. Alternatively, you can send an email to info@competitivemanpower.com. Apply now. Limited slots available.
You're watching CBS News. You're watching CBS News.
On air.
You're watching CBS News.
Welcome back at CBS News. Remember, you can keep the conversation going at CBS News Kenya at our social media platforms across all platforms. My name is Dennis Munyi. We continue with the newspaper review, and we continue with page 6 and page 7 of the Daily Nation, whereby we see a story of 1.5 billion Equity Bank heist, and the Daily Nation reports how there was a heist at the Equity Bank, whereby 1.5 billion Kenyan shillings is reported to have been lost, and it takes us through how this heist happened. We see on July 11th, 2024, the Inspector Boniface Maina Kamau and Sergeant Josiah Gishobi arrived at Equity Bank's Britam Towers headquarters in Upper Hill, and they were going to to look at a matter that had been reported of 1.5 billion Equity Bank heist. And when the two arrived from the banking fraud, this Inspector Boniface Maina Kamau and Sergeant Josiah Gishobi are people who work from the banking fraud investigation unit, and they were being taken through a series of 47 transactions that are reported to have happened with a net value of over 1.5 billion Kenyan shillings. And it turned out that the sum total was stolen during a clever heist in the previous days. And these officers were able to reveal that over 47 transactions had been made, accumulating a total of 1.5 billion Kenyan shillings. And Mr. Kamau had written had written a letter to DCI Mohammed Amin and to the Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja and the Internal Affairs Unit of the National Police Service and the National Police Service Commission, claiming that this transfer was an attempt to scatter haste investigations. And he claims that the transfers follows failed attempt by some heavy hitters in the security structure to recuse a woman in the detectives who believed to have been the one who conducted the 1.5 billion equity heist. This is a heist that was conducted on July 11th, whereby it is reported 47 transactions with a net value of over 1.5 billion Kenyan shillings was stolen. And this heist is very, very much outlined in the page 6 of the Daily Nation and the page 7 of the Daily Nation about the heist that was conducted at Equity Bank, where over 1.5 billion Kenyan shillings was lost. And we move on to page 8 and page 9 of the Daily Nation, whereby we see a story of Nakada's Nakada delivering their new rules for Nakada, whereby Kenya is set now to raise the legal drinking age from 18 to 21. And now these new rules by Nakada are aiming to stiffen the rules that have been there, whereby now the drinking age will be moved from 18 to 21. This is in an attempt to curb the rising cases of alcoholism and drug abuse, particularly among the youth. We've seen the number of youths who are engaging in drug and substance abuse being on the rise, and now Nakada is planning to outline such measures that will curb the increase in number of youths who are participating in drug and substance abuse. And in the new rules, according to Nakada, alcohol sales and home deliveries will also be banned. These are rules that will be made to enhance and to curb the rising number of cases of youths engaging in drugs and substance abuse. Another rule that is about to be set is that alcohol-free zones around schools and churches will be established. That now it will be illegal to set up alcohol zones around schools and churches. And this is a move by Nakada to ensure that the rising cases of drug and substance abuse is curbed. And in a cabinet dispatch that was dated June 24th, the government formally empowered the Nakada to enforce proposed changes. Now, these changes which will be proposed by Nakada, they are likely to become law and they are likely to be enforced. And the authority will now implement these measures in partnership with county governments to ensure that the laws are followed to the letter. They will also partner with law enforcement agencies and community leaders across the country. And in the latest figure that was released by Nakada, over nearly 13% of Kenyans aged between the age of 15 to 65 are about 4.7 million people. This is the number of people who are said to consume alcohol, with the high prevalence being youths aged between 18 to 24. That is an increase, a 13% increase of the number of youths who are said to consume alcohol. These are youths aged between the age of 18 to 24. And at least, and in that report by Nakada, it says that at least 10 high school students have admitted to consuming alcohol, with average of the first drink continuing to increase. And this is very disturbing, in that children at the age of at the age of 6 to 9 years are being exposed to alcohol in their homes and neighborhoods. Therefore, these regulations by Nakada to ensure that the age of consumption of alcohol will be moved from 18 to 21 is a good move to see us and these new rules that will be that will also apply about online alcohol sales and home deliveries being banned, about setting up alcohol stations near schools and churches being banned. This is a good move because as you've seen in that report, 13% increase is the number of is the percentage that have been seen of people between the age of 15 to 65 who are consuming alcohol. And you'll see that story very well outlined in page 8 of the Daily Nation, and a picture of a police officer destroying a tank used for brewing illicit alcohol. That story is in page 8 of the Daily Nation. We move on to page 10 of the Daily Nation, whereby we see a story of why motorists could soon pay to use Rironi Mau Summit Highway. And according to the Nairobi you see the Nairobi Expressway from Westlands to Jomo Kenyatta International Airport that was launched, and majority of Kenyans have been using it, and it's now emerging that the new Rironi Mau Summit Highway, the motorists might now have to pay to use this highway that is being constructed to ensure that the Nairobi Nakuru Highway, we've seen during Christmas, during festive seasons, the Nairobi Nakuru Highway experiencing a lot of traffic, and now the new road that is about to be constructed, the Rironi Mau Summit Highway, which is aiming to ensure that the traffic that we witness during festivities at the Nairobi Nakuru Highway, that is solved to the end. And now this alternative route that is being provided, it's now being said that motorists might now end up paying to use that road. That story, you will find it in page 10 of the Daily Nation. And we move on to county news that are in page 16 and page 17, whereby there is a manhunt for a suspect who was behind multiple murder charges. And police are on a trail of a suspected serial killer in Yala, Siaya County, following a number of murders in the area of the past 2 months. This is someone who is on manhunt, who is reported to have participated in various murder cases. And the police post who spoke to the Daily Nation said that the man who is on manhunt has been allowed to be arrested and is a prime suspect to various murder cases that have been reported in Migori County. And the police spokesperson who spoke to the Daily Nation revealed that the suspect's main targets were women and young girls whom he sexually violated and assaulted before killing them. And this young man is on the hunt and is a prime suspect. Those are the county news we have about Siaya, a man who is on manhunt. And that story you will find in page 16. There are also a few stories of how the Naivasha Member of Parliament Jane Kihara, an ally of former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, has been summoned by the DCI over alleged incitement, and the Naivasha Member of Parliament will be expected to be at the DCI headquarters along Kiambu Road today for questioning over several things that he spoke about, and she will be expected to present herself at the DCI headquarters. We'll be having a look at to see whether she'll present herself at the DCI headquarters, having been summoned by the DCI. That story, you will also find it at the county news in page 16 of the Daily Nation. Another story being given headline is about how Gen Zs remembered a slain comrade in Machakos, and whereby we see hundreds of Gen Zs who gathered at the home of Mr. Johnson Mutisia, one who lost their kin, who was lost during the maandamano and was shot during the Finance Bill 2024 protest, and now they had come together to remember the fallen comrade. That story you will find in the county news of page 16 of the Daily Nation. We move on to business news in page 18 and page 19, whereby now Kenya will pitch for an additional 3 flight frequencies to the United Kingdom for its national carrier, and Kenya Airways is now pitching that Kenya Airways should now do additional 3 flights to United Kingdom in a way to increase the tour in ways to increase the transportation sector. And we also have a story about you will see a photo of a tourism and wildlife cabinet secretary Rebecca Miano with the ministries PS Bwana John Olta and Masharia and the Nairobi Secretary General Manager Anthony Chege. These are stakeholders at the tourism sector. And we also have a story on Inua Jamii civil registry, which is now being leaked to be on the death road, and the government is integrating databases for the Inua Jamii cash transfer program with the civil registration services as it in a name to clean up records that have been there and curb the cash transfer to ghost and long deceased beneficiaries. That story, you will find it in page 17 of the Daily Nation. And we move on to sports news in page 38 of the Daily Nation, whereby there is a story of how familiar faces will represent Nairobi region in the Kenya Secondary Sports Association Term 2 National Championship, and it's during the Nairobi Region Championship that ended on Saturday in Nairobi, whereby there were teams from Dagoretti Mixed School and Highway Secondary School who are able to qualify and to represent Nairobi at the national championship after winning their respective final matches. And both those two high schools, that is the Highway High School and Dagoretti, will now be participating at the national championships. And on Saturday, this team from Dagoretti were able to defeat Soweto Academy in a match that ended 1-0 in girls football final, and they are now going to participate in the National Champions League. And the final story is about how greatisms extinguish Kenya's World Cup hope. This is a story on how the Kenya Rugby, commonly known as Kenya Simbas, they were the match that ended 18-13, and they were able to concede, and they were able, Kenya Simbas, that is the Harambee, the rugby team from Kenya that were playing a rugby match yesterday during a semi-final match that happened yesterday. That's the story we have in the Daily Nation. We take a short break and we will be back to have a look at what we have on the Standard newspaper. Remember, you can engage with us at our social media platforms at CBS News Kenya and at my own social media handles at Dennis Munyi. Stay tuned. This is CBS Newspaper Review.
You're watching CBS News.
Competitive Manpower International Limited is recruiting delivery riders in the United Arab Emirates. If you have a passion for the road and a desire to work in a fast-paced environment, then this is your chance. Don't wait. Send your applications to competitivemanpower@gmail.com. Want to apply in person? Visit our offices at Kiko Road behind the Casa Hotel, KCB River Road, Nairobi. For more details, call us now on 0721 506627 or 0733 392180. Act. First opportunities are limited. Secure your spot today and start your journey as a delivery rider in the United Arab Emirates.
Join our team at AYTB in partnership with Competitive Manpower. AYTB is seeking qualified candidates for the following positions: Technical Advisor, QA or QC Personnel, Shop Coordinator, Report Organizer, Rotating Equipment Repair Technician, Valve Overhaul Technician, Machining Technician.
Contact us today on 0721 506627 or 0733 392180. You can also visit us at Waterseas Plaza, Kikorok Road. Alternatively, you can send an email to info@competitivemanpower.com. Apply now. Limited slots available.
You're watching CBS News.
Welcome back. We continue with the Standard newspaper. Remember, you can engage with us at our social media platforms at CBS News. And the Standard newspaper has a bold headline, "Oh no, not again." And this is a very heartbreaking story about how a young girl was that story, "Oh no, not again." And after a day of long standoff between two state security agencies, the police and the prison service are now saying that the 24-year-old Julia Kariuki, who lost her life during the prison service, and they have admitted that she died in their custody, and they claim that she arrived already injured. The cold deflection of responsibility, even as a life is lost, echoes the very impunity of Kenyans have been protesting against. This is the 24-year-old girl by the name Julia Njoki, who was found dead at police custody. She was arrested during the demonstrations and taken to police custody, but a few hours later she was pronounced dead. And now the police are saying that when she was being brought at the police station, she was injured. The same script we saw during the death of Albert Ojwang, whereby the police claimed that Albert Ojwang hit his head at the wall. It's the same script they are now saying, and that's why the Standard is saying, "Oh no, not again." And we have a picture of a beautiful lady by the name Julia Njoki smiling there, and she is no more. She is dead, and she died at police custody. And we'll be looking at that story. We also have a story of how police have concealed evidence after taking lives of innocent. That's the story, a very heartbreaking story you will find at the Standard newspaper. And we move on to page 2 of the Standard newspaper, whereby we see a man who has moved to court, and he is saying that he is not the dad, and the man now wants his name removed from birth certificate. A very interesting story of a businessman who has taken legal action against the registrar of persons, and after a woman who was and the man is now seeking his removal from the name of child's birth certificate. And in a petition that was filed at the High Court, the man is now claiming that he is being unfairly compelled to provide for a child he did not father, and simply because his name appears on the birth certificate. A very interesting story you'll find in page 2. And this man is saying he wants his name removed from the birth certificate. And the man is admitting to have been in a relationship with a woman, and that they had a child together. And he is now saying the child's mother altered the birth certificate and added his name as the father without consulting him. And now he wants the registrar of birth certificates to remove his name. And that's an interesting story, because his monthly expenses, it's outlined here that he caters rent 30,000, food 5,000, house help, he pays for house help 12,000, and other utilities. And he is only left with a negative balance of 20,000, and now he wants his name to be removed from the birth certificate. A very interesting story you'll find in page 2 of the Standard newspaper. In page 3, we move on to page 3, whereby we see topical issues that have grabbed focus at music festival. We see very good images of students participating in music festival. We've seen Chebenoi Girls High School from Bomet County, whereby they were presenting a poem on data protection during the music festival that was happening in Rift Valley. We've seen also Kaptuma Boys High School in Nandi reciting a folk song traditionally sung during joyful occasions as they were participating in the musical festival. We are also seeing very nice pictures of students from Somali Bantu Secondary School in Kakuma refugee camp, whereby they were rehearsing a French poem that is aiming to promote unity among African nations. There are also photos of Kipkelion Girls High students performing a poem at the Regional Music Festival, and other institutions. That is Talau School from West Pokot, whereby they are performing a folk song. There is also Sirikwa Secondary School, and very many students here. And now the Standard is talking about how music festivals have turned and schools, institutions talking about topical issues. And now it's not just a music festival. These schools are taking the opportunity to talk about topical issues that are happening. We saw a few months ago whereby there was a play that was presented that was having controversy, and now we've seen now other institutions during this year's music festival. Institutions are now coming out, like the case of this school by the name Chebenoi Girls High School from Bomet. They were presenting a poem addressing about data protection, and this is a great move by the schools and the high schools, whereby they are now focusing on topical issues. They are not only now participating in music festivals for competitions, they are now taking the opportunity and taking the mic at stage to talk on topical issues. That's quite a great move by the high school students who are talking and addressing topical issues. And we move on to page 4 of the Standard newspaper, whereby there is an outrage grief as another Kenyan dies in the hands of law enforcers. This is the story we saw in our first page of the Standard newspaper, and the newspaper is talking about even before the nation has come to terms with the death of Albert Ojwang at the hands of security officer. Remember Albert Ojwang, as I have said during the Daily Nation review, how Albert Ojwang was found dead at the hands of security officers. And now another lady by the name Julia Wangoi Kariuki has been added to the list of civilians who have lost their lives at the hands of law enforcers. And the 24-year-old Julia Wangoi, who was commonly known as Njoki, died under mysterious circumstances on Friday while in custody of the Kenya prisons, hours after she was admitted at the Nanyuki Women's Prison. And she had initially been booked at the Nanyuki police station after she was arrested following the last week's Sabasaba protest, but later she was transferred to the prison facility after she failed to settle the court bail. Her death has now ignited anger and fear over what now appears to be sheer misconduct and state security agencies' apparent disregarding civilian life. Njoki was arrested on July 7th in Nanyuki, and she was being charged with malicious damage to property and was later booked at Nanyuki police station. And the following day, she was arraigned in court, and she was granted a cash bail of 50,000, which she could not raise. And now she was remanded at Nanyuki Women's Prison. And according to the Kenya Prison Service, Njoki, when she was being admitted to the prison on July 8th at around 5:20 p.m. with 4 other women, she was processed and served a meal. And at around 2 hours later, at around 7 p.m., she began complaining of dizziness, headache, and stomach pains. And on probing, and she was taken to a hospital facility. But on Wednesday night, at around 11 p.m., Jerry was confirmed dead. And this story is a story that is very much that is very much I don't know what to say, because we saw the late Albert Ojwang, how the police issued a statement saying that Albert Ojwang hit his head at the wall of the police station. And now this is another young lady by the name Julia Wangoi, who died in the hands of police custody. And now we don't know whether the investigation will complete. And at their home, one of the sister to Njoki, she was saying that she feels very much troubled with the death of her sister. That story is in page 4 of the Standard newspaper. And we move on to page 5, whereby there are missing bullets in demo victims, and now victims who died, who are shot during the Sabasaba protest, are now saying that the bullets that were taken for investigation at IPOA, and they are now missing. And that story is in page 5 of the Standard newspaper. We move on to page 6 and page 7 of the Standard newspaper, whereby we see a photo of a police officer in Kitengela, and how trigger-happy police officer conceal evidence that incriminates them. The anti-government protest of the 2024 and 2025 that have seen disturbing patterns where protesters are killed with reckless abandoning evidence and vanishing. And in several clips that we've seen online, police officers are recorded aiming directly ahead of them. And this story is being seen in page 6, how police officers were recorded during the Sabasaba demonstrations and even in previous demonstrations, whereby we've seen police using excessive force, whereby we've seen police even using live ammunition to shoot at protesters, and they have been concealing evidence. That story is in page 6 of the Standard newspaper. And we move on to page 8 of the Standard newspaper, whereby we've seen Western remains a critical region despite unmet promises. In page 8 of the Standard newspaper, you'll see a picture of Trans Nzoia Governor George Natembeya, who is now saying that Western region will now be a critical region, and it will determine the 2027 general election. And despite millions of unfulfilled electoral promises in the Western region, this is a region that is very commonly known being a vital voting bloc in Kenya's political landscape. And as the country now gears up to the 2027 general election, Mr. Natembeya is saying that the Western region should not be ignored because it's one of the region blocks that determines the general election. That story is in page 8 of the Standard newspaper. And moving on, we see in page 10 and page 11 about the IEBC commission that was put in place a few days ago, whereby there is a lot of work that is expected by the IEBC commission. And you will see a photo of the Independent and Boundary Commission IEBC chairman, Bwana Erastus Edong, who was sworn in a few days ago, and he is now being tasked with a lot of work to be done. And the Standard is talking about how there are several by-elections that are supposed to be conducted by the IEBC commission, and there is a lot of work that the IEBC commission is expected to carry out in coming days. Now that we have the IEBC commission in place, the Standard is reporting how they have a lot of work to do. We move on to page 16, whereby patients can now breathe after hospitals enforce bed sharing ban. Yesterday we heard the story of the hospitals complaining that there was despite them paying for licenses to host patients, and now the social health, the SHA has now looked into the matter, and now patients can now breathe easier as hospitals have been enforced the bed sharing ban. That is the story you will find in page 16 and page 17 of the Standard newspaper. However, it's now good news to patients as they now can now visit any health center, and now they can be admitted. When we move on to page 18 of the Standard newspaper, whereby there is a youth who have turned trash into treasure. A good story of a youth who have decided to venture into turning trash into treasure by lighting a green path for Africa. And when you see such kind of youths being innovative, it's a good story. And this is the story of a young man in Kibera who has now ventured into turning trash into treasure by lighting a green path for Africa. And you will see a photo of him and whatever he is doing in transforming in using polythene bags and transforming them into durable chairs. This is an effort to help conserve the environment, and he is doing a good work, and there is a good feature story of him and how he has been doing this in Kibera, whereby he has been collecting trash and transforming them into durable chairs and benches for schools and churches. A good feature story of this young man from Kibera who is transforming polythene bags into durable chairs and benches for schools and churches. We move on to business news in page 19, whereby now Kenya's export will now is now bracing for 13 billion blow as Trump tariffs resume. Kenya is now bracing the return of punishing US tariffs after failing to secure a trade deal during a 90-day negotiation window. And now this will leave exporters exposed to steep levies that threaten to affect the Kenya trade relationship with the US. And you remember the Trump's administration imposed deadline for reaching trade agreements which are expired on August the 1. And now that Kenya, the deadline has lapsed, Kenya now is at the verge of losing 13 billion Kenyan shillings. That story is in page 19 of the Standard newspaper. And that's all we have in the Standard newspaper. And the last page is business news, whereby boys football champions Highway have a smooth ride to national games. As I had said, there's this high school called by the name Highway and Dagoretti will now be participating in the national champions. And you'll see a photo of our rugby team celebrating after winning the Nairobi Region Secondary School. That is the story we have. And the last story is the heartbreak for Kenya as Simbas bow out of the 2027 World Cup race. Yesterday we saw the Kenya Simba, the Kenya rugby team being beaten, and now their hopes of participating in the 2027 World Cup champions have now been dimmed after losing their game yesterday. That story is in the last page of the Standard newspaper. We take another short break, and when we come back, we'll be having a look at the story that have been given headline at Taifa Leo. Remember, you can send in your questions, you can send in your feedback at CBS News Kenya. My name is Dennis Munyi. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
You're watching CBS News.
Looking for a trusted supplier for all your household hardware needs? Look no further than Competitive Hardware Limited. We provide top quality building materials including cement, all types of iron sheets, paints, PPR and PVC pipes, electric pipes, building grills, BRC and square till in various sizes. Need interior and finishing materials? We've got you covered with gypsum rails, marine boards, ceiling boards and tanks of all sizes. For fencing, we stock barbed wire, chain link and wire mesh. And the best part, we offer free countrywide delivery with our fleet of transit trucks and pickups. Your order arrives on time, every time. Visit us in Kitengela along Namanga Highway, opposite 411 stage, or at our branches in Kitisuru and Busia. For enquiries, call us on 020-2688-888 or 0733-666632 or 0721-923248. Competitive Hardware Limited, your reliable hardware supplier.
Almarai Company, in collaboration with Competitive Manpower, is urgently hiring for the following exciting roles: Grade 1 mechanics, panel beaters, refrigeration technicians, lead mechanics, diesel plant mechanics, welders and stainless steel welders. Why apply? This is a free recruitment with no application or placement fees required. Contact us today on 0721 506627 or 0733 3921
0724-999-980. You can also visit us at Waterseas Plaza, Kikorok Road. Alternatively, you can send an email to info@competitivemanpower.com. Apply now. Limited slots available.
Welcome to Competitive Training Institute, empowering you with in-demand skills. At Competitive Training Institute, we equip you with practical, job-ready skills that open doors both locally and internationally. Whether you're aiming to become a qualified caregiver, certified plumber, skilled automotive mechanic, or want to learn a foreign language like French, Arabic, or German, and many more, we've got the right course for you. Our hands-on training, guided by experienced instructors and aligned with market demands, ensures you're ready to compete and succeed in today's job market. We don't just train, we help you get hired. Our job placement team supports you in finding meaningful work after graduation. We are proudly accredited by NITA, ensuring high standards in all we offer. Ready to begin? Call us on 020-200-192. or 0721-223081, or email us at competitivetraining@gmail.com. Your journey starts here. Let's build your future together.
You're watching CBS News.
Na mpenzi mtazamaji, natumai kwamba bado unaendelea kutufuata tunapochambua magazeti, na niko hapa na gazeti la Taifa Leo, ambapo kichwa cha gazeti hili ni karata kali ya Ruto mwaka wa 2027, na tunaona picha ya Rais William Ruto pale akiwa na furaha, na inasemekana kwamba kuna karata kali ya Rais Ruto ya mwaka wa 2027. Na pia tutaona pia kuna habari kuhusu Mudavadi, jinsi alivyotofautiana na Rais Ruto, akiwakanya maafisa wa usalama kuwadhuru waandamanaji. Hilo ni swala pia tutakuwa tunaangazia, limepewa kipaumbele kwenye gazeti ukurasa wa kwanza wa Taifa Leo. Na kwenye hapo pembeni mwisho tunamuona Lagat akisemekana kuwa hana hatia yoyote, ambapo uchunguzi umekosa kumpata afisa huyo wa polisi na hatia kuhusu mauaji ya Ojwang. Taarifa zingine ambazo zimepewa kipaumbele ni jinsi ambavyo bara Pwani wamezea mate kiti maarufu cha kadhi mkuu Kenya. Na pia kuna habari kuhusu DCI kumhoji Kihara kwa uchochezi, na idara ya upelelezi imemwamrisha aweze kufika makaoni kuhojiwa kwa kuchochea uasi. Hayo ndiyo mambo ambayo yameweza kupewa kipaumbele kwenye gazeti letu la Taifa Leo siku hii ya leo, na twende moja kwa moja mpaka ukurasa wa pili, ambapo tunaona habari kuhusu jinsi ambavyo Rais Ruto amefichua siri ya kutamba ya mwaka wa 2027. Na hii ni kulingana na wandani wa Rais William Ruto wakiwa pamoja naye kiongozi Kiunjuri, akifichua kuwa rais amewaita viongozi wakuu wa Kenya Kwanza na kuwatajia mikakati ya kushinda uchaguzi wa mwaka wa 2027. Na sasa inasemekana kuwa hao wandani wa rais wameweza kufichua mbinu kali ambazo rais anasemekana kuwa huenda akazitumia, ikiwa pamoja ni kuwanyemelea wale ambao viongozi ni wa upinzani. Na mbunge huyo amekuwa akifichua kwamba Kenya Kwanza iko katika harakati ya kuwavizia viongozi wa upinzani, hasa kinara wa Wiper Kalonzo Musyoka pamoja na rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta. Na pia huyo amesema kuwa Bwana Kiunjuri ameweza kufichua kuwa kuna mpango wa serikali kuweza kuungana pamoja na aliyekuwa waziri wa usalama wa ndani Fred Matiang'i pamoja na gavana wa Trans Nzoia George Natembeya, na kwamba wataweza kuwaita waweze kushirikiana na wakaweze kufanya kazi pamoja. Hii ni kulingana na wandani wa rais ambao wamefichua kwamba kwenye uchaguzi wa mwaka 2027 huenda rais akashikana na viongozi hao ambao ni wa upinzani ili waweze kuongeza nafasi yao ya kuchaguliwa kwenye uchaguzi wa mwaka wa 2027. Ni jambo ambalo tutakuwa tunaliangazia, tukiweza tu kuangalia tuone kana kwamba hayo yataweza kufanyika. Ni jambo ambalo linasemekana kuwa siri ambayo rais ataweza kuwa anatumia wakati wa uchaguzi wa mwaka wa 2027. Tukiongezea habari nyingine ni kuwa bwana naibu inspector generali wa polisi bwana Eliud Lagat sasa amesemekana kuwa hana hatia yoyote na anatarajiwa kurejea kazini siku hii ya leo. Kumbuka bwana Lagat alikuwa amejiuzuru baada ya kusemekana kuwa amehusika kwenye mauaji kwenye mauaji ambayo ilifanyika ya Albert Ojwang wiki kadhaa zilizopita, na sasa inasemekana kuwa sasa yeye hana hatia na atakuwa anarejea afisini. Na naibu huyo wa inspector generali alikuwa amejiondoa afisini Juni tarehe 16 kutoa nafasi kwa mamlaka ya kuchunguza utendakazi wa polisi almaarufu IPOA kuendesha uchunguzi kubaini kiini cha mauaji ya Ojwang ambaye alikuwa mwalimu na kupatikana amefariki kwenye stesheni ya polisi. Lakini sasa inasemekana kuwa bwana Lagat hana hatia na atakuwa anatarajiwa kurejea kazini hapo leo. Na tunageukia habari nyingine kwenye ukurasa huo ambapo kuna sheria inasemekana kuwa itakuwa inapitishwa ya kupandisha umri wa kunywa pombe kutoka umri wa 18 hadi umri wa 21, na hii ni jambo ambalo linatarajiwa kufanyika ili kuweza kudhibiti uraibu wa pombe ambao umekuwa ukionekana miongoni mwa vijana. Na kulingana na takwimu ambazo zimeweza kuwa zikiachiliwa hivi majuzi za NACADA, karibu 13% ya Wakenya wenye umri kati ya miaka 15 na 65, hao ni takriban watu milioni 4.7 ambao wamesemekana kuwa huwa wanatumia kileo ama almaarufu pombe, na idadi hii imekuwa ikiongezeka kila ucheo, na inasemekana kuwa idadi kubwa ya hao ni vijana wenye umri wakati ya miaka 18 hadi miaka 24, na jambo hili linatarajiwa kusemekana kuwa litakuwa linasaidia kudhibiti ongezeko la utumizi wa pombe, na ni jambo ambalo tutakuwa tunaangazia tuweze kuona jinsi ambavyo hilo jambo litakuwa linaenda. Kwenye ukurasa wa 3 tunaona maswali kuhusu urithi wa wadhifa wa kadhi mkuu. Kumbuka tu ni siku chache baada ya mauti ya kadhi mkuu Sheikh Abdullahi Hussein, na sasa viongozi wa Waislamu wameonyesha maoni kinzani iwapo mrithi wake anastahili kuwa akitoka upande wa pwani au maeneo mengine. Na sasa inasemekana kuwa kuna hayo maswali kuhusu ni nani anayefaa kurithi wadhifa wa kadhi huyo mkuu. Viongozi wa Waislamu wakisema kuwa anafaa kutoka upande wa pwani na wengine wakisema kuwa anafaa kutoka maeneo mengine. Ni jambo ambalo limepewa kipaumbele kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo kwenye ukurasa wa 3. Na tukisonga mbele ni kwamba kwenye ukurasa wa 4 tunaona mbunge wa Naivasha Jane Kihara ameagizwa kufika mbele ya wapelelezi katika makao makuu ya idara ya upelelezi wa jinai DCI, na sasa inasemekana kuwa mbunge huyo anatarajiwa kuhojiwa na DCI baada ya yeye kudai kuwa serikali inawaua Gen Z. Na sasa kulingana na agizo hilo, mbunge huyo analengwa ama anatakikana kuweza kujifikisha hapo kwenye idara ya upelelezi na jinai almaarufu DCI kuandikisha taarifa kuhusu maneno ambayo alisema kuwa serikali inadai inawaua Gen Z, na sasa atakuwa anatarajiwa kujifikisha kwenye ofisi za DCI kuweza kutoa taarifa yake. Hilo ni jambo ambalo limeangaziwa kwenye ukurasa wa 4 wa gazeti la Taifa Leo. Tukisonga mbele kwenye ukurasa huo tunaona waziri mkuu mkuu Musalia Mudavadi anasemekana kuwa sasa ametofautiana na rais kuhusu swala la kuwashambulia au kuwaua ambao ni waandamanaji. Na sasa Mudavadi sasa anasema Wakenya wanatakikana kulingana na katiba hawafai kuuliwa, na nikimnukuu jinsi ambavyo amesema ni kwamba tufikirie na tutathmini haki zetu, ninapoomba maafisa wetu wa usalama wasiwajeruhi raia wanaoandamana, waandamanaji pia waheshimu haki za wengine. Haya ni maneno ya waziri mkuu Mudavadi akitofautiana na jambo ambalo rais alisema kuwa wale ambao wanaandamana waweze kupigwa risasi miguuni. Sasa huyo waziri mkuu anasema kuwa polisi wanafaa waweze kutumia nguvu ambazo hazipiti kiasi wanapokabiliana na waandamanaji. Hilo ni jambo ambalo nimeangazia kwenye ukurasa wa 4, na ukurasa wa 5 ni kuhusu kijana wa Lamu ambaye ameteuliwa kuwa naibu mwenyekiti wa IEBC. Huyu ni kijana ambaye ameteuliwa kuwa naibu mwenyekiti wa IEBC. Ni kijana ambaye anatoka kwenye jamii ama katika kaunti ya Lamu, na wakaazi wa eneo hilo wameweza kusifu uteuzi wa Bi Fahima Arafat Abdalla ambaye aliteuliwa hivi juzi kuwa naibu mwenyekiti wa tume huru ya uchaguzi na mipaka IEBC. Huyu mwanadada kwa jina Bi Abdalla ambaye ana umri wa miaka 32 amezaliwa katika kijiji cha Shela kisiwani Lamu mnamo mwaka 1992, na wakaazi wa Lamu wameonekana kufurahia jambo hilo wakisema kuwa ni furaha tele ambapo ameweza kuteuliwa kuwa naibu kamishna wa tume ya uchaguzi IEBC. Na tukisonga mbele kwenye ukurasa wa 8 tunaona jinsi ambavyo juhudi za Trump zilivyosambaratishwa na DRC, na kuna ripoti imefichua kwamba wajumbe watatu wa Amerika waliotumwa kushinikiza mkataba wa Rais Donald Trump nchini DRC walivyochana mbuga siku 2 baadaye wakihofia kukamatwa. Ni jambo ambalo limeangaziwa kwenye ukurasa wa 8 na 9 wa gazeti la Taifa Leo. Tukisonga mbele kwenye ukurasa wa 11 tunawaona jinsi ambavyo mashule yameweza kuangazia kwenye mashindano tunaona mashule jinsi ambavyo yameweza kuwa yakifanya mambo mazuri kwenye mashindano ambayo yamekuwa yakifanyika ya muziki, na tunaona picha kadhaa za baadhi ya wanafunzi wakiweza kutangamana na kufanya na kuperform kwenye music festival ambazo zimekuwa zikiendelea, na hilo ni jambo ambalo nimeweza kuangaziwa kwenye Taifa Leo. Na tukisonga mbele kwenye ukurasa wa 14 tunaona habari kuhusu mwalimu ambaye amekuwa mchapakazi. Ameweza kuangaziwa kwa kazi yake ambayo amekuwa akifanya kazi bora ambayo amekuwa akifanya, na zaidi kuchangamkia masuala yote yanayofungamana na mwalimu huyu ambaye amekuwa akifanya kazi mzuri sana na kuangaziwa, ambayo amekuwa akionekana akifanya kazi mzuri sana. Haya ndio ambayo yako kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo, na tukimalizia kwenye spoti tunaona Kenya motisha tele ikielekea riadha za Afrika. Na hii ni habari kuhusu kuna matumaini ya kwamba Kenya huenda ikaibuka washindi kwenye mashindano ambayo yatakuwa yanaanza hivi karibuni ya riadha, na kuna matumaini ya kwamba Kenya itakuwa inajishindia medali tofauti kwenye michezo hiyo ambayo itakuwa inafanyika. Na tukimalizia ni kwamba KCB imeweza kuzima pipeline na kubeba Kenya Cup, huku Kenya Prisons ikimaliza ikiwa nafasi ya 3. Na hayo ndiyo yameweza kuangaziwa kwenye gazeti ya Taifa Leo. Hayo ndio tu tumeweza kupata kwenye magazeti yetu ya siku hii ya leo. Kumbuka jana pia kuna timu ya Chelsea ambayo iliweza kumpiga timu ya PSG mabao 3-0, na wana Chelsea wana furaha teletele kwa kushinda mechi hiyo ya jana. tumeweza kufikia hapo siku hii ya leo, na we've come to the end of our daily newspaper review today. I hope you've had an opportunity to get insights on what we have in our newspapers today. I have been your host, Dennis Munyi. See you tomorrow, same time, same place. Stay tuned. My name is Dennis Munyi.
You're watching CBS News.
Almarai Company, in collaboration with